about atrocities, but we're going to act unaffected, we're going to be in trouble. And cultivating a life where routinely there are things that are restorative in your life, whether that's being in nature or doing something that brings you joy or connecting with loved ones. I think the relational contact is hugely important. We need to be part of support networks of people that nourish us. I hope that helps.
Thanks for your talk. I heard once in a lecture about trauma that one of the key things that helps people recover from it is the ability to put it in context, that the trauma seems so consuming for them, but that when they see their life as a much larger thing than just that one incident or just that series of incidents or just that time, that helps them. One, do you agree with that, or is that, I don't know if I've expressed it, the way it was expressed to me, but that was one thing I heard. And B, what other sort of elements would you say are key or sort of core ideas about how this recovery that you're talking about happens?
Yeah. I would say that I see that more as the result of having healed.
Okay.
That is not the healing process to get someone there, right? That when one is healed, there's a more coherent narrative. And it sits in a context. And there's an acceptance of what life has been in a new and different way. The components of getting there can be very individual, but in tendency, kind of in gross simplicity here, trauma actually is blocked in the body, right? It's a physiological thing. And often people try to do debriefing and think of it as if it's this intellectual thing, as if it's this psychological thing. And it really involves your whole body. So there are more methods nowadays that actually engage the body's processes, because ultimately to be able to heal the part that is psychological or is emotional or is of the heartbreak, the body has to calm down first. So I often teach a method that was developed by Dave Berceli, who was working in southern Sudan, and he actually did it in large groups of people. It's something that people can learn. They do it on their own. They don't need a psychotherapist. It helps them calm down. Once they calm down, like in southern Sudan, they're not going to go see a psychotherapist. Once they calm down, they meet together with those in the village that understand the experience, and then they talk. And they connect, and they support each other. And I think that another way I'd sum that up is that we need someone present with us to bear witness. And it has to be someone that is present and emotionally available, who will get it and not put an agenda. And oftentimes that means that it's someone that won't be afraid of the pain. And usually that's someone who's done somewhat of some work within themselves to create that capacity to be able to be there and bear witness. But I think getting the body to calm down combined with being able to have someone bear witness to the pain are two of the really important components of getting there. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I have a question for you. I do agree that we're all wounded and that it is hard for people that don't have a lot of money to get access to the resources they do need. So I guess my first question is, if you don't have a lot of money, how do you get access to the resources you do need? And then how do I or other people recognize in someone else what you said about someone who has done the work of healing themselves? Like, how will I know someone is healed when I meet them or become friends with them or I'm close to them?
Yeah.
Because I think some people are just better at faking it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Sometimes that's tough. Sometimes that's tough. Sometimes we intuitively can recognize someone that is really present, and sometimes people fool us.
Can you repeat the questions?
Okay. Do you want to say it again into the microphone? Okay.
I agree with you that I think a lot of us are wounded, or all of us are wounded to some point. My question is, since you said a lot of people don't have money to get the access to resources they need, what's your advice to people to get help that can't afford it? And then how do we recognize people that are healed so that we can become friends with them, or have them listen to us or help us on our journey? And
Right.
recognizing that they are really healed and not just faking it.
Right. So, on the other component of your question, what I'd say is I don't have a lot of good answers for how people who don't have resources get help, other than that's why we started the organization, because there's a real gap. And there are some, but there's a real shortage, and a lot of what's out there isn't high quality. And that's what we're trying to create, you know, and I mean, we're still at a very young place, but that's exactly what we're seeking to address, and to do it differently, so that we can, like for instance, we're seeking funding so that we can start trauma recovery down in the community, like in Santa Ana and in Anaheim, where it's accessible, and that people that don't have money can come for free. And targeting those areas where domestic violence and child abuse rates are highest. So those are the kinds of things that we are seeking to create. And, you know, and we do offer some things if you're actually interested in what we do through workshops and groups and so forth and so on, and I could explain more of that later if we talk or something. But the other question is a more difficult question of, you know, how do you recognize the right person? And that's challenging. That's challenging. I can't give you a good answer to that.
I don't know if this was already said or clear, but I was curious about what is healing and in general. And this may tie back to that question a little bit, maybe about how do you recognize the person who's healed. It may bounce back there, but I think more in general, like how are you defining healing, and what does that mean?
I think, like, I mean, I really think that healing is the lifetime. You know? I mean, there's always things happening. We're always in process. It's the lifetime. So I think it would be, you know, a misnomer to say someone is healed as if it's a mark in time and they're going to live there the rest of their life. And we're also talking about shades of gray and on a continuum, right? But how much can someone sort of, you know, feel at peace within themselves and feel like they've sort of come to a place of accepting what's happened to them, right? And the outward, how do you recognize it in someone else? I think, you know, if someone is there, you know, and they feel really present with you when you're talking, you tend to notice that, right? If you feel like someone is really quiet and calm, and you feel the other body, you feel the resonance of the other body with you differently than somebody's kind of frenetically talking and scattered and going through the motions. I mean, if you really kind of check in, we do have a little bit of radar for checking out when something feels fake or it feels authentic. You know? So that's a very imprecise best answer for you.
So healing then is getting you to a place that you consistently deal with whatever is thrown at you.
Well, I think the more healing that you've incurred, it increases your capacity to deal with more. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I mean, you can kind of think, I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of healings, right? So specific to trauma, right? When we are traumatized, initially we pull in, we're contracted, our worldview gets smaller, and we're more apt to stereotype and see enemies in the world. We get more scared, we're more paranoid, and many other things happen. After healing, we open back up. We've integrated the experience into who we are. We see life differently. We have a different, bigger worldview, and we're more understanding and compassionate because our old image of the world got shattered. We now have a new one that is more alive. And oftentimes the more of these experiences, there's sort of a going in, pulling in, contracting to the experience, coming out bigger. And each time we come out with a bigger capacity to then be with, be understanding, be present be a healing presence with another. Are we done?
One more? Last question.
First of all, I wanted to thank you for an amazing talk. You said a few things that really landed very powerfully for me, and one of them, I have to admit, you used a term that I imagine I should have heard at some point in time, and maybe I did, but it just didn't land for me the way that it did today. But you used the term otherize, and I've been sitting here contemplating the power of that term, and what I realize is that what it really does is it makes it very clear to me that separation or the absence of connectedness is not something that is inherent or by nature, how we would experience life, but it actually requires that we take action to reach that point. We have to actually otherize other people. So it's a conscious choice. It's not even a conscious choice day by day or hour by hour, but literally moment by moment, we can choose to either be otherizing or not that, connecting, and accepting our inherent connection with other people. So I just wanted to thank you for the speech in general, but that term is huge for me, and I have a feeling I'm going to be at least trying to be conscious about whether I'm otherizing or not doing that over the next few days, and hopefully ongoingly.
Yeah, great, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed everything that you heard here, and it made a difference for you. This morning when we first started by saying that the piece that we are talking about, and without having really